to educate, motivate, and build one another through shared knowledge and success. This is Young and Successful, and these are your hosts, Jay Chukwi, Kenny Awashika, and PJ Luminan.
Very excited for this one, man. We'll talk about real estate. I think everyone gets excited about real estate, man. Everyone wants to be a real estate agent. Isn't that right? Am I wrong on that one?
Would you guys agree? Real estate
I want to do it. Everyone wants real estate.
Yeah, everyone wants a rental property, you know.
Exactly. But hold on, now. I'm jumping ahead of myself here, but as you can see,
yeah, we're all excited.
All right, I know we have a guest in the house, right? Our guest today is a master in the real estate sphere, right? Starting in 2011, when he got his real estate license under the mentorship of his father-in-law, right? And today, not only is he a successful real estate entrepreneur, but he's also very proud of the relationships which he has built during this time, right? Oga Kenny, from what I understand, he sold your house in 24 hours and found you another one in a month.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty quick.
Correct, right? It's pretty quick, I would say.
Champion,
yeah.
Hey, look, exactly. He is just the go-to real estate guy in the DMV area. Yes Nation, please welcome Mr. David Zeff.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. Thank you. Thank you.
You know, I've been working on it, man. I need to sharpen up my introduction skills. And every time I feel like I'm getting a little bit better. And this one was the best one yet, right?
I thought it was good. You did good.
Hey, thank you. Hey, I wanna start by thanking you for even just taking the time to sit down and just kick it with us, talk with us, share ideas and things like that. We know your time is important. And from all of us, man, we appreciate it. Thank you.
I got to tell you, man, I'm so grateful for the opportunity. When you guys reached out to me, I'm humbled by the opportunity to sit down and talk to you guys. To hear you refer to me as like a real estate master, right? It's interesting. I don't necessarily think of myself that way. I mean, this is just kind of what I do on a day to day. So it's humbling to hear you introduce me that way, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, since 2011, you're doing something right.
That's a long time, man. Yeah.
You're doing something
long
right.
time.
Yeah, right. I think the average agent isn't in this business that long, and if they are, then they're doing something right, you know.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. Now, just to dive deep in real quick here, let's go to the start. Right, we all want to begin, just get a good idea of how your growth journey was like, right?
Yeah,
Could you share some of that with us? How did you get into real estate? Is this something you've always been interested in, or give us some more? Tell us more about that.
Not really. No, it's I actually had a really long-standing retail career. For many years, I was in retail management. I worked for CVS Pharmacy for many years, and had a great time doing that. I actually thought for a long time that retail management was going to be my career. Mm-hmm. What happened is the economy tanked, 2008, 2009, that time. And I stuck it out for a little while. And what was happening is I felt like my time was coming up, right? And it was either going to be by my choice or by their choice. And that's how I felt it was going. So I started thinking about what I wanted to do, and I started talking to Faith, my wife, and we were engaged at the time. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I thought about going back to school. I thought about getting a job in IT, going to school for IT. I actually applied for multiple jobs with the federal government. But at the time, and maybe it's still this way now, I'm not entirely sure, veterans were given the priority, right? And right. That's fair. They serve the country. They should, be able to get a government job. That's certainly fair. So obviously I never got one of those positions. So we started talking about the possibility of sales. And I realized that if I was going to go into sales, there's a couple of things that needed to take place there. I wanted at least the appearance of flexibility in my schedule, right? And gentlemen, I will just tell you that the appearance of flexibility is everything. Real estate is not necessarily as flexible as we like to make it seem that it is, but I wanted that appearance. Right. I also wanted the potential for massive amounts of income. I'm very, very financially motivated, as I think a lot of people are. So for me, it was all about making lots of money, or at least having the possibility of making lots of money. And then to top that all off, I wanted to feel like I was doing something that was actually helping people. So I thought about it. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I knew it wasn't going to be retail sales. I'd done that before. I'd sold beds. I'd sold cell phones. I've done all those things. So I knew I didn't want to go into that because it wasn't going to meet a couple of those criteria.
Right.
And so when I was talking to Faith, we kind of stumbled upon real estate. And by stumbled on it, I mean, she kind of brought it up and brought up the possibility of me going to work with her father. Her dad's been doing this now 28 years. So she grew up in the real estate industry. So I talked to my father-in-law. We had a conversation about what that would look like as far as me coming to work with him and what kind of a team setup that would be. I started taking my real estate classes online while I was still working with CVS, eventually gave them 30 days notice. And December 31st, 2010 was my last day with CVS. Took a couple of weeks, had to finish up some school, some classes, take a couple of tests. And I got my license January 26th. And that's really like the Cliff Notes version of how I got into real estate.
Amazing.
But now it's, I mean, I don't want to do anything else. I love it. I mean, it is amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
What would you say is go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just going to ask, what was probably the most difficult part of starting like your first couple days being a real estate agent? Because I know
couple
everyone
days, first couple of years, man. First couple of years.
Yeah.
It was. I think that there's this misconception that you're going to get into real estate and all of a sudden you're just going to be making hundreds of thousands of dollars and you're going to be sailing on your yacht and everybody watches these TV shows, right? And I'm sure there's a set of the real estate population that can do that, right? But the hardest thing for me was transitioning, building my network, building my database, and getting people to understand that I am a realtor now, right? I mean, you know people, you've known them for so long in different environments, whether it be school, previous careers, and they know you as those things, but they don't necessarily know you as a real estate agent. And so I think the biggest thing for me, the hardest thing for me was making that transition, because you want people to know you as a real estate agent. You want people to trust what you have to say and trust your experience. Well, when you're starting out, you have no experience, right? So I think that for me, that's probably the hardest thing is it takes time to build a business. And that's why I think the majority of people, whether it's real estate or otherwise, I think the majority of business owners, that's probably not a fair way to put that. I think there are a lot of business owners, I'll put it that way, where their businesses fail within the first 5 years. For lots of different reasons. And I think that it takes that period of time to get over that hump and get everybody to see you for what it is that you're doing at that time. So I think that's probably the hardest thing for me. And certainly, I will tell you as a newlywed and having these big dreams and these big goals, not making much money for the first 3 years is definitely not, it's not an easy thing on you. It's not an easy thing on your relationships. It's not an easy thing on your bills, right? I mean, that in and of itself. Fortunately, my wife is very good with money in terms of making things work and making sure things get taken care of. So from that end, fortunately, we were always okay. But I've got, I always have big dreams. I always, I talk about the yacht, right? I'd love to be sailing on my yacht, right? But those first couple of years, there is no yacht in sight, my friends. There's just none of that happening. Not at all.
Absolutely.
I was going to ask a similar question to what PJ just asked, because there's this question that we ask people about that transition. And did you it looked like you literally just jump ship, like literally 30 days notice. After those 30 days, you work in those jobs, even though you've started to mentally get yourself ready by taking those evening classes. That's the toughest part for most people. Can you dig a little bit deeper into that mental state of mind that you have to get yourself into to make that transition? Because it's a huge career change.
Yeah, I think from the beginning, once I made the decision, I was all in, right? I mean, for me, it wasn't this transition. It was okay. Now I'm in retail. This is what I'm doing. And as soon as I realized that one way or another, I was going to be leaving that environment, there really wasn't much of a transition for me in terms of my mindset, right? I think that, you guys were saying, in terms of that drive, you either have it or you don't, right? In a lot of situations. And I think that when it came to that, I had that drive to make that transition. I don't think that there was really much in terms of hesitation. I don't think there was much in terms of should I be doing this? I probably did not get things started as quickly as I could. I don't know that I necessarily at first put in the work in the right way at first, which maybe caused me to have a little bit more of a delay getting up and running and getting going than maybe I would have liked. But in terms of the mindset, I mean, I was all in as soon as I decided that's what I was doing. I mean, I started the classes, I bought the test books, I did it all. I mean, there was no hesitation whatsoever for me. Once I decided that's what I was doing, that was the end of it. It was it.
Laser focused, right? Now I want to switch gears here a little bit. I know we introduced you. We said you're working in your field is real estate. There's commercial real estate, residential, and there's a lot of different pockets in real estate, if you will.
For sure.
Can you talk to us a little bit more about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I specifically deal in residential real estate. So anybody who is thinking about buying or selling homes, that's what I deal with. And to be more specific, well, I don't know if it's specific or general. I guess we'll figure it out. There's different sets of that, right? Like if you go out to Ocean City, for example, you got a lot of vacation style properties, or Deep Creek Lake, those kinds of areas. I am dealing solely in people who are purchasing homes to either use as their primary residence, or they're buying them with the purpose of renting out, not on a short-term, well, I guess you could do a short-term, but for the most part, like people who are looking for tenants for like year plus long leases, right? Investors. So I primarily deal in that set. In terms of commercial, I mean, I'm licensed to do commercial. I don't know it. I don't know that side of the business. I would be doing a huge disservice to anybody who wants me to help them with their commercial needs. Now, I mean, obviously I've got contacts on the commercial side. So it's one of those things. If somebody contacts me, I had a phone call the other day from a past client of mine. She's working up in Frederick. Her boss is looking for some commercial space. David, can you help? I said, absolutely not, but I know somebody that can. So for me, it's all residential. It's all, again, people who are looking to buy and sell for their principal residence, or looking to invest as a landlord per se.
Nice.
So
now
I know go ahead.
PJ, I just want to ask a follow-up question here, because I noticed real quick that there is an extra level of passion seeping through when you talk about commercial real estate, and especially talking about first-time buyers. It seems it's important to you.
You said commercial real estate?
Yeah, when we talk about residential.
Sure.
Yeah. And especially first-time buyers, you seem especially passionate. The tone of your voice, we could tell.
Yeah, you could tell.
Can you kind of dive a little bit deeper into that?
So as far as first-time home buyers, I got my, some of my first sales were first-time home buyers, right? I one of the ways I started to build my database is I would hold these first-time home buyer seminars with my father-in-law, where we get together with a lender and a title company, and we post up in somebody's office, and we'd invite a couple thousand people to come, and we'd be lucky if we had 12 show up, right? 12 people, not 12,000, literally 12 people. And these are all first-time home buyers that don't know anything about the process, right? So there's something to be said for educating people, but there's a responsibility that comes along with that, right? And when you're dealing with first-time home buyers, now maybe not so much because information's so readily available, right? But first-time home buyers are so green when it comes to buying a home because they've never done it before. So there's something special about guiding them through that process. There's something special about walking into a home with that couple or that individual or that family, and you just see everything about them light up when they've discovered the house that they want to call their home, right? There's just something so amazing about that, and there's always going to be this special place for me for first-time home buyers. I actually just got a couple under contract up in they're going to buy a house up in Germantown. Same type of thing, right? I mean, I met them at an open house. They're going through this process, and they're just looking for education. They're looking for that knowledge. They're looking for somebody that's going to make sure that they are guided in the right direction. And I think the key to all of that, though, is we have to remember as real estate professionals that our job is not to make decisions for people. Our job is to give enough information, and by enough, I mean all the information, so that these folks can make the best decision for themselves. And it's important with all buyers, and it's important with all sellers, but I think especially with first-time home buyers, because a lot of times they just don't have that information for one reason or another. They either haven't have access to it, they haven't taken the time to look, they don't know what to look for, and there's something about knowing that you are, in a sense, responsible for making sure they have what they need so they can get to that next step in their life. And then when they get there and it's the right house, it is ridiculous, doesn't even cover it. There's this feeling you can't explain it. It's unbelievable.
A fulfillment, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it really is.
You can call it a heavy dose of fulfillment.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's so satisfying to work with these folks, and for me, it's not just the sale, right? Like I want to try and build a relationship with these folks, so that if something happens in a month and maybe they need a recommendation for something, or they just want to say hello, I want them to feel comfortable reaching out the same way I want to feel comfortable reaching out to them. And being able to build that relationship with these people, there's just nothing like it. Nothing like it. These first-time home buyers, man, I love them. I absolutely love them.
Yeah. So my wife and I are both going to be first-time home buyers. So we've been looking, and every time we find something, it sells within a day or two. So what advice would you have for people like me? How do you beat that? Like, how do you buy a house when it's getting sold over asking within a day or two?
You buy over asking. No, it's and that's an easy way to put it, right? It's like, here, let me help you spend your money, right?
Yeah.
Look, the market right now, at this moment is bananas. It is. Yeah. Let me put it this way. I put a house on the market. Before I could even put it into, we can utilize what's called coming soon, right? So that's a status in the multiple listing service that allows other real estate agents to see properties that are going to be coming on the market within the next 21 days. Before I could even put this property into the coming soon status, we received an offer on the property, right? So what we're seeing is a lot of things. We're seeing buyers are bidding over ask. Buyers are waiving contingencies, right? There's certain things that you could do throughout the course of your transaction, and a lot of it is for your protection, right? For example, doing a home inspection, right? I happen to think a home inspection is ridiculously important. I would never advise one of my clients to waive a home inspection, but people are doing that. Buyers are waiving their right to do a home inspection. They're buying them as is. They are buying them with no appraisal contingencies. So for example, somebody wants to buy a house at $400,000. And the appraisal comes in at $350,000, where their lender is only going to give them the loan based on the $350,000. Right. Well, the buyer's coming up with the extra $50,000 in cash. They're just buying it. They're doing all kinds of crazy things. I shouldn't say crazy. That's probably not the nice way to put that, right? In my opinion,
you can call it what it is.
Look, in my opinion, it's a little bit crazy, but I think I think it's because they have such a sense of urgency, right? Yeah. So my advice is keep going, right? It's one of those things where people will say to me, all right, well, David, what do you think this house is worth?
Yeah.
And before, what we would do is we'd sit down and we'd look at the comparables and we'd say, okay, this is what you're trying to buy. And here are the other homes in the neighborhood that have sold recently that are most similar to yours. So let's figure out a pricing strategy. Well, now the question I have is, how much are you willing to pay for it? So at the end of the day, what it comes down to in this market specifically is you should be writing offers that are your absolute strongest and best offers within your comfort range, right? Don't stretch yourself to a point where you're not going to be comfortable stroking that check every month,
right?
Because then that doesn't do you any good, right? But write your strongest offer. So at the end of the day, if the seller takes a different offer, because let's be real, there's probably going to be multiple offers, right? If they take a different one, you're not left thinking, what could I have done differently?
Right.
The conversation I have a lot of times is you know, I want to offer X. Okay, well, we can offer X. I know what your budget caps off on or caps out at, right? If it tops out up here and you offer X, let's say you found out that it's sold for X plus $2,000.
Oh man,
Are
yeah.
you going to be upset that it's sold for that just $2,000 difference? If the answer is yes, we need to change your offer. If the answer is no, then fantastic. Let's write the offer. And this way, you know, if your offer is not selected, you did everything you're comfortable doing to try to secure that property. So that's the biggest thing is keep going. It's frustrating. It's bananas. There's lots of buyers. There's almost no inventory. Keep going. Don't let that frustration stop you, but you should always be writing offers that are at the absolute top of your comfort zone, right? Don't stretch beyond that, because at the end of the day, I still think that people need to live in their houses, not live for their houses, right? So I think that you need to be writing strong offers, but write them to where if you get the house, you're not thinking, what did I just do? But if you don't get it, you're not thinking, what could I have done?
Right. Yeah, that's perfect. That's a perfect way to put it. Because like I said, I'm also looking for a house right now, and yeah, it's a wild time, man. Do you think people are FOMOing into this, the fear of missing out kind of type of deal?
I don't know. I mean, I guess that's always part of it, right? I think that everybody's hearing about how crazy the market is and they want to get in. I think what a lot of it is interest rates are just so, and I'm not a loan officer, obviously, right? But I mean, interest rates are so ridiculously low right now that people are looking to take advantage of that. And I think some of their thought process is if I have to pay a little bit more for the house now, it's okay because my interest rate is so low. And in 5 years, when we're talking about houses appreciating in value, it's not going to make a difference, right? That I think is some of the thought process. Now, we don't have a crystal ball. I have no idea what the market's going to do in 5 years, right? For all we know, it could take a dip, it could continue. We don't know. But I think that's the thought process of a lot of people is interest rates are low now. So even if I pay a little more, it makes more sense to pay a little more in sales price than it would be to pay less in sales price with a higher interest rate. So I don't know if it's FOMO so much as they're trying to logically put that together.
I actually want to piggyback. I guess it's the same question that PJ had, but I'm flipping it to the other side, right? From the perspective of a real estate agent or say a beginner real estate agent, right?
Sure.
So what would you say for someone who is going to the real estate field, right? They're starting off and they haven't experienced, all these different things that can happen, like you're talking about, from economic turmoil to whatever else that can happen in between there. How would you say someone who is starting off can better prepare themselves for those events? Because that is going to be a challenge to get through.
I don't know that one can fully prepare themselves, right? Because sometimes things happen in such an instant. I mean, I can tell you, I have seen maybe not every type of market, but I've seen a lot of different types of markets, right? Remember when I got into this industry, the market was in the toilet, right? We were almost at rock bottom. The market hit bottom, I believe it was 2012 before it started to creep back up, after the recession. So I've seen that. I've seen the market where it is currently, obviously, and I've seen some markets in between. I think that the biggest thing that people can do to prepare themselves, it really depends on what kind of real estate agent you want to be, right? I can tell you from my perspective, based on the type of real estate agent I want to be, the biggest thing you can do is continue learning your trade, continue learning the real estate industry, continue learning strategies, continue learning negotiation, continue to immerse yourself in as much education as you possibly can. And then on the flip side of that, when you're talking about dealing with people, put yourself in a position where you're doing what's right for the person, right? And sometimes that's not always easy, because it's so easy to look at somebody as just a commission check, right? It's so easy to get wrapped up in that stuff. If the sale doesn't go through, how am I going to eat, right? And it's so easy to do that. But if you're always putting other people first, run your business as if it's dependent upon your clients, because let's be honest, it is. If you're always doing that, then even if you're going to have some harder times, at the end of the day, it's going to come around. But especially somebody that's just starting out, that mentality is going to be everything, right? don't always focus on chasing the next deal. Nurture the relationships that you have while chasing the next deal. Because let's be honest, you want to get a deal and you want to put some money in your pocket. But it's I have found success in making this a relationship-based business, not a transaction-based business. And I like to think that everything I do revolves around that. Everything from the way that I handle my clients, or that's not an appropriate term. Handle my clients. The way we work together, right?
I'll put it this way. I'll put this. I'll say maybe, and let me know if it's along the path of what you're thinking.
Yeah, sure.
Because it sounds to me like what you're saying is like you want to focus on serving the people, and the people will take care of you.
That's really what it boils down to, right?
Yeah.
The old saying, and I forget who said it. I should know who said this, but it's people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
That's the saying. Yeah. And it's true, because if you just start spouting off information, but you come off like you're doing it for yourself, it's going to make a world of difference as opposed to doing things for the person that you're trying to help. Right. Because at the end of that, what you've done is you've created a relationship. I know I use that word a lot, but I have worked for 10 plus years to build a database of relationships. And look, let's be honest, I'm not perfect. I don't keep in touch with everybody, right? I've got a database probably full of people that maybe I haven't talked to in much longer than I should have. But you know that's life, and nobody's perfect, and we just keep trying to do better every time. But the goal is to don't treat people like they're a stack of money, right? Don't treat people like they're a bag of groceries, or they're a tank of gas, or they're your kid's daycare bill. They're people with thoughts and feelings and perspective, and they are going through something, whether it's home buying or home selling, that is ridiculously stressful. And you have to be aware of that and be respectful of that. And I think that if you can do that and get through that initial period of uncertainty of, oh my gosh, can I make it in this business? Right. If you can stay through that course, then I think that you could be successful.
Guys.
So that's awesome.
This is one of the reasons why I want David to get on this call.
Because I like to run off at the mouth. Is that why I just keep going, right?
No,
it's all about you dropping the knowledge, man.
Yeah, it's a good shit, man.
We need more people like you around the world. There's a reason why we're doing this show. Literally, is to get people to have access to folks like you. So I am not a first-time buyer, but my first-time home buying experience wasn't good. And
remember you telling me that.
Yeah. And the moment I started working with David, it was just a totally different thing. And when it talks about building a relationship, focusing on your client, those are very key things for any business person out there. What David is saying is very critical, because it's been several years after I bought the house, but the reality is that the biggest purchases for most people is their house, is their car, maybe their school loan. So David plays a major role in one of the key life decisions that we all have to make. And that's some of the key success criteria that people have, is that, do you have a house or something like that, right? And David plays a critical role in that. And I have to say, the fact that he thinks of the customer first, right, thinks of building a relationship first, that's what's going to get you to that success factor, not I'm going to make money off these guys and forget about them, which is what happened to me with my first home purchase. So yeah, you want to get with the best.
Well, I'll tell you though, that's not, it's such a hard thing, right? Like it's such a hard thing to embrace that at first, that mentality at first, because when you first get started and you're in this career now that you're not getting a salary, if you don't sell, you don't eat, right? It's just the way that it is. It's easy to get caught up in the prospect of making the money, right? Look, I did it when I first got started. I like to think I didn't do anything to put anybody in a bad position, but there were definitely times where I was like, oh my gosh, if this deal falls through, what am I going to do? Right. And then of course, the deal falls through, and what do? You move on to the next deal, right? It is right. What it is. but it's easy to get caught up in that mentality. I think that what becomes harder is to transition out of that, to build out of that, right? I think that as business owners, right, and as a real estate agent, I'm a business owner. I mean, let's call it what it is. I believe that there's several stages, right? That first stage is survival, and that is what people are trying to do when they're in that step. They are just trying to eat. They are just trying to feed their family. And I think that when you can get yourself to a point where you are out of that survival stage, that's when, of course, you want the deal, right? There's always something about the thrill of the deal. You want that. But at the end of the day, if you can get to a point where if you don't get it, your family still eats, or you're at least not worried about your family eating, then that's where that happens. And I didn't get to that point for 6 or 7 years, right? I mean, I was in a state of survival, but I just tried to keep that mentality of do what's good for the person, and the result will come. Do what's good for the person, and the result will come. Do what's good for the person, and the result will come. But it's so easy. It's so easy to get caught up in, oh my gosh, this deal is going to fall through. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Oh my gosh, what if they don't buy a house, right? It's so easy to get caught up in that. I think a lot of people, especially when they're first starting out, they get caught up in that. And if you can't get past that, that could be a detriment to your business.
So basically, don't live on fear, just live on service.
I mean, I think a little bit of fear is still good, right? I think it keeps you humble, it keeps you moving, right? I mean, I still have a little bit of fear every day, right? I mean, I'm probably busier now than I've been in my entire 10-year career, just because of what the market's doing and all that. But I still, I mean, if I have, a month where maybe there's not a lot of productivity in terms of transactions closing, I still have this thought of, what's going on, right? So I always have a little bit of fear. I think that it's good to hold on to that. But yeah, Kenny, I do think it's about running a business based on service, because at the end of the day, the way I make my money is by serving people, right? By providing them with the information that they need. I'm a firm believer. Let's take somebody who's buying a house, for example, right? If we go out and we're looking at a house and it's not what you're looking for whatever reason, the kitchen's ugly, the bedrooms are too small, it doesn't have a basement, doesn't matter, right? If it's not the right house for you, is there anything that I can say that's going to change your mind and make you buy that house?
Yeah, no way.
No, right? So, I mean, and I think that we have to remember that, right? I'm not there to necessarily sell you on buying a house. I'm there to make sure that we're checking all the boxes, and we're making sure that you have what you need to make a good decision for you and your family. That's what we're there for.
David, some agents just keep taking you to the same thing that you tell them that you don't want, or keep taking you to houses that are way above the price. And they're like,
that, because I had a real estate agent. I told him one of my boxes is a garage. Like, I want my own garage because I'm a car guy. And he started offering me condos with garage parking. And I was like, okay, that's not what I want. Wow. But then he kept pushing it. So I was like, all right, man, I'm looking for someone else, because clearly we're not on the same page here. So like you said, you can't make someone change their boxes. So that's a good point.
I mean, I think that you can't. I think that you want to make sure that person's boxes are realistic, right? And if they're not realistic, it's my job to tell you that it's not realistic. And then ultimately, at the end of the day, you decide what you want to do with that, right? Talking about your garage, it's one thing if you said you wanted a garage. Well, he showed you a condo that had garage parking. That wasn't what you were looking for. So let's pivot. Let's change it. Let's change the search to get you what you're looking for. And if that's not happening, that's somebody that's not listening. They're just not paying attention to what's going on.
Yeah.
I have to say that's one factor of success, which is the communication style. Communication, one of the biggest part of communication is listening. And hey, Dave, I'm kind of like putting you out there. Uh,
Here we go. Here we go. Do I gotta stretch for this one, Kenny? Do I gotta?
A big factor is listening, man. Like the first house is exactly what you want, the exact neighborhood that you wanted. Maybe just a little bit off. Maybe it's a little bit off on the wife taste. Maybe it's a little bit off on the color. But that is what you want. That's just what you call service. You listen, you deliver.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't always happen that easily, right? But you're right. It's about listening, so that way you can make adjustments, right? See, what I'm finding now is with buyers, for example, there's so much information available, right? You guys can go online as buyers, and you can look up what houses are available for sale or what houses may be coming soon, right? You get all of this information. What becomes important then, where I start to add value, is no longer being your chauffeur, right? Come on, we're gonna go take a look at 3 houses, right? Because you've already probably driven through the neighborhood. You've probably already seen the virtual tour online. Where my value starts to come into play is, hey, wait a minute, you like this house, but remember, you wanted a garage, this one doesn't have it. Or remember, you wanted granite in the kitchen, this one doesn't have it. Or remember, you wanted 4 bedrooms, this one only has 3, but it's got that space in the basement. Is that type of stuff okay with you? Where my value comes into play is pointing these things out, so that this way you're not wasting your time looking at a bunch of stuff that's not going to interest you. It's easy to just take you into houses. It's easy to do all that stuff, right? But if we're not paying attention to what your wants and your needs are, and pointing that stuff out, how are you able to make a good choice? How are you able to make the best use of your time? What I like to tell my clients is, look, this is what I do all day, every day. This is not what you do all day, every day. So if we're going to take the time to do this, let's make sure that we're maximizing your time. Right. Oh, well, David, it's only one house. We don't want you to come out to just show me one house. Well, why not? Right? One house. It might be the house. It might be the right house for you, right? Let's do it. I think that's key. And a lot of that does come down to, Kenny, you said it, a lot of it comes down to listening. You've got to listen to what people are telling you. And if you're not listening, you're not going to get paid. I mean, let's call it what it is. You're not getting paid. It's just what it is.
Absolutely.
So before we close out, I have one question that it might be silly, but it's one of my fears.
Sillier the better. Let's do it. Come on.
All right. So I've been watching a lot of Netflix, and one of the shows I was watching is called Haunted.
Okay.
And sometimes they buy houses, and then a couple months later, the house is freaking haunted.
Cool.
So
you charge them rent. Charge them rent. Charge them rent.
Does the house go back on the market? Like, hey guys, this house is haunted. I'm moving out. Like, how does that work?
So I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess it's a matter of what your tolerance is, right? So I know, like in Maryland, there's certain things that we don't have to disclose, right? And it's my understanding that if there was a death in the home, right, somebody died in the home, we don't have to disclose that, right? We don't have to tell the world that somebody died in that house. If a house is haunted, we don't have to tell the world that the house is haunted. I would say that in that regard, it is up to the buyer and also the agent to make sure that all of the concerns are dealt with prior to going to closing, right? So if you don't want to move into a house that's haunted, then I'm sure that there are ways to test for that, right? Whether it be contacting a medium or somebody that can come in and do whatever it is that they do to establish whether or not there are any lingering spirits per se.
Right.
So I would say that before you even buy a house, do your due diligence as best you possibly can to make sure whatever it is you're concerned about is discovered and uncovered, so that this way, again, at the end of the day, you've got all the information that you need to make the best decision that you can. I'm
glad you gave that information, because my wife thinks I'm silly because I have that like irrational fear of buying a haunted house.
I don't think it's irrational. I mean, I think that some people believe in that stuff and some people don't believe in that stuff. Right? And for the people that do believe in that stuff, if it's important enough to you that you're even thinking about it, then it's enough to figure out a way to determine whether that situation is happening in the house that you're thinking about buying. There's ways to work it out. I mean, I don't personally know anybody that I could contact and say, hey, come see if there's anything going on over here with regards to the afterlife, right? But I'm sure that there's folks like that would be more than happy to come and inspect for a small fee, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that answer, David.
Yeah,
You
my pleasure.
can get some garlic. I think that helps. Isn't it? Is it garlic or is it onions?
I think garlic is vampires. Garlic and the wooden cross. I think
my
that's
God.
That's what the
vampires.
I got it all messed up. Man. Okay.
Although you want to protect yourself against those too, right?
Yeah, you never know.
You never
Yeah,
know.
you never
man.
know, man.
Situations change all the time, right?
That's it. That's
Hey,
it.
this has been exciting. But before we let you go, David, I just have one more question here for you.
Sure.
What is your definition of success, and what is your vision for the next 5 years for your business?
It's so crazy, right? My definition of success, right? At the risk of making myself look like a terrible person, right? I am a very financially motivated. For me, it's all about making large sums of money, right? And I don't believe, what is it? They say money can't buy you happiness, right? But I do believe that money can buy the things that make you happy. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that for me, I want great things for my kids. I don't ever want them to wonder where their next meal is coming from. When they become adults and they start living their own lives and they make their own decisions, and that's their prerogative, right? But for right now, while my kids are under my roof and they're growing up and they're learning and all that, I don't want them to want, and I'm not talking about spoiling my kids, right? They don't get all the toys that they want. They don't get, ice cream every day, right? This is not how we live our lives. I can tell you that, look, when I was growing up, right, I grew up in a single parent household. My dad left when I was really young, put my mom in a really nasty position, right? My mom was a stay-at-home mom. She wasn't making any money, so she was forced to go out and get a job. And so here she is raising 3 kids by herself on like an entry-level income, right? I can't even imagine how hard it is to do that. And so growing up, we were fortunate to where we always had what we needed, but we didn't necessarily always have what we wanted, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe that contributes to my mentality a little bit today. But I know that parents always want better for their kids than what they had, right? And right. That's nothing against my mom. She did a great job. She absolutely, like I said, raised 3 kids by herself. We're all grown and mature and productive members of society, and life is great, right? But I want to know that there's some financial security, some financial stability. That to me is success, to answer your question. If I am not worried about swiping my credit card when I go out to dinner, if I'm not worried about going on a cruise vacation once a year, right? I'm not talking about going away 6 months out of the year. I mean, I could, but I think maybe that's a little ridiculous. If I'm not worried about my kid doing the extracurricular activity because it costs, $100 or $200 or whatever it is, or she needs, some extra supplies for whatever she's doing for school or whatever she's doing for this activity. If I can go and do all of that stuff and not have to check my bank account before I go do it, that to me is success. That means I'm a successful person. That being said, I tell a buddy of mine, he's in the home improvement business. Actually, Kenny, Gus. I tell him all the time. I say, Gus, you know what my goal is? He said, what's that? I said, look, I love selling real estate, but at the end of the day, I'm a business owner. So what do I want to do to run my business? I want to be sitting on my yacht in the Caribbean where my responsibilities are writing checks for the business and cashing checks for my account, right? At the end of the day, I'd love that. And that's, maybe that's a pipe dream, right? But I think if I can continue to run a successful business and continue to help people and continue to ensure that my kids are never left feeling like they have to do without, right? And again, I'm not talking about spoiling them. I'm talking about the basics and giving them the things that they need and that will help them grow into productive and good people. If I can do all of that and I can close my eyes at night, know that I have not done something to jeopardize that, that to me, that's success. I'm a successful person, man.
I like that answer. It's simple
Yeah, it's
and
pretty
it's
awesome,
real.
man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Simple and real. I like
I
it.
mean, like I said, I try not to blow smoke at people, man. I like to have
Hey,
fun.
man.
I like to joke around. And I know a lot of my chat today maybe seemed a little bit more like with a serious tone, right? But I mean, let's be a Kenny knows, right? I
Hey.
like to have fun. I like to joke around. I like to mess around, right? But at the end of the day, I take my business very, very seriously, and I want to make sure that if I have an opportunity to work with somebody, I want them to know that we're going to have a lot of fun when we do that. But at the end of the day, I run my business in such a way to make sure that you as a buyer or seller wind up successful at the end of the transaction. And we have to take that very seriously. So that's what I do.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
And
before we go, I think where are
ahead.
you licensed to sell? That way, if people want to contact you because they saw you through this podcast.
Absolutely.
Sure.
On your
Yeah, yeah.
website, we'll actually drop that in the description as well.
Okay,
Yeah,
but you're
awesome.
licensed
So-
in Maryland.
Just Maryland, yeah. So
Okay.
I could easily get my license in DC and Virginia, but honestly, I don't know DC and Virginia, so I wouldn't be doing anybody any good in those areas. And even with that, even though I'm licensed in the entire state of Maryland, I pretty much hyper focus on Montgomery County, Frederick County, Howard County, parts of Prince George's County. I've got a great client I'm working with down in Bowie right now,
Okay.
and certain parts of Anne Arundel County. Like if we're talking about Crofton or Odenton and areas like that. I've been asked if I could go into Baltimore, and I've done business in Baltimore, but it's not my specialty, right? I don't know those neighborhoods nearly as well. So even though I'm licensed in the state, I try to keep it. Fairly local, and honestly, that's just as well for me as it is for the client, right? If I can't advise them properly, if I can't give them all the right information, it doesn't do them any good. And the reality is, there's enough business within a 30-minute drive or a 45-minute drive. Why do I need to drive 2 hours for an area that I don't know?
I was gonna say I've been lucky to be on both sides, selling and buying, and the experience has been wonderful.
Appreciate that,
See,
man.
that's the thing, man. It's an experience. I like that word.
Can I tell you though, you say that, and look, Kenny, I know I had the privilege of working with your family, right? So I'm not trying to like blow anything at you here, right? But I honestly believe that the experience is on me, yeah, but it's also on you, right? If we can work well together and we can make things happen together, then it's going to be a great experience, right? If I'm not listening to what you're saying, or you're completely ignoring the information that I'm going to give you, well, that's going to be a poor working relationship. So I think that and we talked about that a little bit with like some of your guys' previous experiences, right? I think that, look, not every agent is for every person. I've fired clients before. Sorry, can't work with you, right? For various reasons that we won't necessarily get into here. But I fired clients before because they weren't a good fit. Clients have fired me before because we just weren't a good fit. And so, we take our lumps, we figure out maybe what we could have done better. Just as home buyers and home sellers, if you've got to find a new agent, maybe there's something you could have done differently as well. Chances are it's probably on the agent from them not listening, but maybe, right? And we take those things and we adjust and we move on from there. And at the end of the day, you have to take all of that stuff as a learning experience. And that's where it comes back to, you want the deal, right? You want the transaction, you want that commission check as a real estate agent, but at what expense, right? I'm not about to put myself in a situation where I'm miserable fielding that phone call every day just for the commission check. I'd rather let you go and put all of my focus into working with people that know me, like me, and trust me.
Awesome. Good way to put
Amazing.
I hope that the information I gave you guys was valuable, right? I always feel like I'm just kind of spouting off at the mouth and I just keep going and going and going. I hope that the info was valuable. I hope that this was worth your time having me on, because I'm truly, truly grateful for the opportunity.
Absolutely. I think the information was I think what I enjoyed the most as well about information was the simplicity, right? It's very clear cut and very genuine, right? And there's the work to
Simple
back it
guy,
up.
man. Simple
Exactly.
guy.
And they say simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. That's like my
I
favorite
like
saying
that.
ever.
I don't think I've
Right.
ever heard that before just now. I like it. I'm
Hey,
stealing it.
You know, feel it, man. Write it on a piece of paper.
I'm telling you,
Paste
I
it on
love
the
that.
wall. Print
That's
it.
great.
I like it. Kenny will tell you that's kind of my mindset. I'm kind of like a simplistic,
Mhm.
I love it.
minimalistic sort of person.
Yeah,
right?
that's great.
So, Mr. David Zeff, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for joining
Gentlemen,
us again
Yep.
today.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
your
so
time.
All right.
much.
Until next time,
Pleasure.
follow us on Instagram, the Yas Podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Young and Successful, and please like and subscribe. Okay, share our video, subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 followers. At 1,000 followers, we're going to wear glasses or something. You know, maybe drink some cocktail. I can't think of anything, but
Yeah, we'll do something.
We can send our 1,000 follower a yes coffee cup.
Oh, we do have
There
the
we
coffee
go.
mugs. We have the
do.
coffee,
Yeah.
which you
Yeah,
will be getting
we'll do
one
something.
too.
Oh,
David,
that'll be my
so-
new favorite mug, man. I love it.
Absolutely. So keep your eye on the mail. Sooner or
Awesome,
later, you're
awesome,
gonna
for
see
sure.
it. All right. Well, Che out.
This is Peter, PJ. See you later, alligators.
Hey, double O. You gotta be all in, according to David Zeff. Thank you.